Okay, we should be live here on YouTube. This is the first time I've been live in months here, but I'm so glad to be back here for the winter season, everyone, and hopefully you can hear me okay. For those of you who are live watching this stream with me right now, if you could just leave a thumbs up down there in the comments section below to let me know that you can hear the audio of everything that's going on okay at this point in time, that would be awesome. But it is great to have everybody here who has already joined, and of course to anybody watching this after the fact, after I'm done streaming, you can always feel free to leave any comments, questions, concerns down below. And of course, I am going to go through a forecast. This isn't just a Q&A stream, so any questions you have might get answered here. So let's go ahead and get right into those details, though, with an overview, assuming that everybody can hear me okay. So once I get a few thumbs up, all right, I've already got a couple of thumbs ups down there, and it sounds like my audio is running fine as well. I'm doing my own test on my phone. So here we go. Let's go ahead and get into the details on the upcoming pattern using the model that I love to use the most, the European model. I think it is finally kind of locked in on this storm. It is doing a better job, and I think overall this is going to have the best details that we need as we go into the rest of this week and head into the weekend ahead. Let's just go ahead and play things out. Give me just a moment to set things up. Alright, here we go, and we should be back now and running, and as you can see, using the future radar from the European model, as we go into the Sunday and then towards our Monday. Alright, I apologize for some issues I was having there, but we should be back now, and I'm going to go ahead and get my little pin where we can draw on the screen now, and then here we go. Now you can see exactly what I'm going to be circling as we go throughout the rest of this live stream. First of all, the first thing that we are going to be taking a look at is this storm that you can see into the central parts of the United States as we go to the early part of next week, around Monday, November 18th of 2024. That's when it looks like this is going to emerge on out here into the central United States. Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, you can see that's where the rainfall is going to begin to kick up as we go to this time frame. And again, we could even see the potential for some severe weather to get in the mix in this general zone here. And this is going to be the storm that carries us as a winter storm all the way to the end of the week. And then we could even see some wraparound snowfall towards it as we go to the back half of the week and towards the next weekend time frame. Now, I will go ahead and tell everyone who's watching the stream right now, and there are at least 20 of you on here right now, thank you so much for being here. I just want to let you know, the end of this storm is not looking necessarily as snowy as it initially was. The end of the storm is not necessarily looking as cold as it originally was. But now that we're back here, I want to go ahead and get into all the details, and I apologize for that brief inconvenience here at the start of the stream with that cutting on out. Alright, here we go as we go out of this weekend. First of all, this weekend, nothing crazy to fear out there across the country. You can see we've got dry conditions ongoing for pretty much everyone. And we've just got a little area up here where we could see some brief spotty showers associated with a weak low pressure system. Minnesota, Wisconsin, up towards Michigan, we could see that as we go out of our Saturday the 16th into our Sunday the 17th. But most of the country moving high and dry as we go through this weekend in terms of the weather pattern. High pressure, dry conditions. Things begin to change just a little bit, though, as we go towards the start of next week. And honestly, this isn't a little bit. This is in a pretty big way down here for the South Central Plains. Strong low-pressure system forming up somewhere around Oklahoma and Kansas. The associated cold frontal boundary, if you want to call it that, stretching back down here through South Central Texas. No snow at this point with the storm. In fact, the only thing we're going to have to watch as we go out of Sunday night and into Monday is going to be the potential for some isolated severe storms down here in Texas and Oklahoma. Am I anticipating a full-on outbreak? No, not by any means, but certainly some stronger showers and storms being possible out down here. And then in terms of otherwise, with this storm, we've got a good bit of rain, and I'll talk about the wind impacts here in just a moment. Here we go, continuing to play things out as we go out of our Monday. Heading into our Monday night and going into the early parts of our Tuesday, the time should be on the top left side of your screen as we go throughout this. Notice we got a low pressure system pivoting on up here towards parts of Kansas, towards parts of Nebraska, and then on that southeast side of it, we've got a low pressure boundary somewhere, a cool frontal boundary somewhere like around right here. And overall, it's looking like we're going to see, as a result of that, a pretty good chance of rain all the way on this frontal side, especially from around South Dakota and Minnesota, back down through Iowa, Missouri, down to Arkansas, as well as Louisiana. Again, are we looking at any snow out of this storm at this point? No, I don't think so. So Monday, going into early Tuesday, really looks like this storm just continues on that general trajectory that it started with just rain and some isolated, maybe severe weather the further south you go along the front. The chance for stronger storms will dissipate along the southern side of this front overall, I think, by the time we go towards our Tuesday morning. In the middle to the back half of the morning, notice we've got just some general rain, probably pushing towards the Ohio Valley and Mid-South if you go with this model solution. This is when the models all just start to separate. They all just start to fall apart as this low makes its way out of these central plains and makes its way up into the upper Midwest. Overall, it looks like that line that I just drew with the low going out of Kansas and then moving on up here towards around Minnesota, that is going to be what plays out in terms of the track of this low into going out of Monday into Tuesday. But energy coming out of the Rockies could affect the rest of this low spinning. This low might fully fall apart. There's lots of different solutions that exist. This is just one of them, and as you can see, this European model shows, okay, we've got a little bit of some lingering rain down here as a new low helps sparking some rain down towards Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina. And then on up here on the north side of the country, we've got rain into parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin, and then we've got snow wrapping back around towards a place like North Dakota as well as South Dakota. This does not look like as much snow up there as was initially expected. And then as quickly as that snow begins picking on up, look at it just kind of winding on down. It's not like a big snow event. But then we get this other low that kind of kicks right on out here into the central United States and then begins pushing towards the Midwest. Sure, this may look strong, but it just kind of does that same thing the first low did. And look at that. It spins around and it brings a cool down with it into the weekend as it moves east. But no snow really wrapping back around. And just so that you can see how little snow this solution really brings, there's a look at the European model's projected snowfall, and you can really see that it is not much. That initial snow band up here towards the Dakotas could be good, with the low sitting right here Tuesday into Wednesday, just wrapping back around that northern flow. But I think it's really all going to be dependent on what energy is able to move into this low as we go through the middle part of next week to try and rejuvenate it. That's what's going to maybe help our threat for some snowfall go up. Otherwise, it's probably going to stay on that lower side. So, those are some things to look out for. I'm sorry if this is a little bit of a messy stream just in terms of me not being on top of it fully. It's definitely the first stream that I've done in quite a while. But I'll get to any questions that you guys are dropping in the live chat that I'm doing right now. I will answer those questions fairly soon. But I do want to go and take a look at the GFS model so that you can kind of compare the midday Euro that was the full run, and then this most recent full run of the GFS, which came out in the middle of this afternoon. Here we go, heading out of our Sunday and into our Monday, November 18th. You can clearly see down here the South Central Plains, that same setup that the Euro showed. So overall, through Monday midday, we've got a pretty good, pinpoint on what's going to happen. Rainfall making its way on out here towards Kansas, towards Oklahoma, towards Texas, and the best chance for some storms is going to be through, again, these areas right here. And we could even see some isolated severe weather down into central parts of Texas. Once this storm begins making its way to the north, we see that same thing the Euro showed, just a good swath of rain really making its way on up here into the Dakotas, Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Illinois. And then once it interacts with a little bit of cooler air on up there towards the Dakotas, look at that, some snow breaking out. And generally, the overall area for snow looks the same. Somewhere up there in North Dakota, northwest Minnesota, maybe back towards South Dakota as well. Tuesday going to Wednesday, we could see some snow wrapping around. Now, unlike the Euro, this storm the GFS model does not really have a big storm riding under this one as it makes its way up towards Minnesota and Wisconsin. So really, we just see this storm connecting with some of that energy that was down here towards the south that the Euro had showed, that this one also agrees on. Look at that, some rain pivoting on up Wednesday into Thursday towards parts of the Ohio Valley. Maybe enough cool air on the far back side of this storm to bring in a little bit of snow, maybe towards places like Minnesota, Iowa, Illinois. I wouldn't fully rule that out. But overall, the storm is just not looking like as big of a snowmaker as it initially did. Although, again, we could see like an isolated band within the colder pool of air that this storm will have at some point when it's wrapping up. And again, the details on that will probably not be specified until around we're at this point in the storm when it's just bringing rain to the central U.S., and then from there it's really just up to what other pieces of energy can cut into this one when it begins kind of pivoting east. So I hope that explanation was good for everyone. I do want to point out a couple of things here. First of all, in my last couple of videos I did talk about big chill and this being a big storm. It still looks like it's going to be a big storm. I never said this was going to be a crazy snowstorm, so I do want to just point that out. I will admit, though, the fact that I was kind of talking about the big cold blast being a guarantee so far out, even though it still looks like we will see the cold blast, that was a little bit of a stretch on my end to do it so early on, so I apologize for that. That is honestly a little bit of extended forecasting that I probably shouldn't have been trying to do. Nonetheless, it looks like the forecasting was generally correct, where even though the cold blast might not affect as many areas in as harsh of a manner at the same time as initially expected, it certainly looks at some point late next week like we are going to see cooler than average temperatures sticking on down here towards the southeastern and generally a lot of the eastern half of the country. You can see, Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, we've got Louisiana. I'm not going to list off all these states over here into the rest of the Ohio Valley, Tennessee Valley, etc. But 10, 15, 20 degree below average temperatures, pretty widespread overall. And that's certainly something that we're going to have to kind of keep an eye on here, as it looks like the models are definitely agreeing on, regardless of what happens with our storm, that cool blast is going to come down. And that is something that I have been talking about for a little while on that aspect. So again, let's kind of refresh what's going on with the storm, what I can tell you and what I cannot tell you at this point. Here we go, GFS model. Again, Monday is when the storm really gets itself going early in the morning. Could see some isolated severe weather, including wind, hail, maybe even a few tornadoes back in far west central Texas. That would be early Monday morning. Overall, just some rain and maybe an isolated flooding threat beginning to build into Oklahoma and Kansas. And then as we persist into our Monday afternoon, low shifting on up somewhere here into Kansas. No snow unless you're maybe in an isolated pocket of Colorado and New Mexico. Everybody else just seeing a big shield of rain out here into the central and south central parts of the plains. Heading out of Monday into our Tuesday, generally this lower part of the low pressure system and the lower part of our front begins to weaken on down. It's still some scattered showers pushing through Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana as we go to Monday into Tuesday, but our best chance of rain shifting on up here into the north central plains. And then eventually, once this energy makes its way on up into the north central plains, we will get enough cool air probably to get some form of snowfall, probably remaining confined, it looks like, to North Dakota, Minnesota, and South Dakota. Those are the states where I would definitely have a little more confidence in at least seeing some light to moderate accumulations out of this storm. And again, that would be Tuesday going into early Wednesday. From there, the future of this low is really dependent on what other lows are able to form, like this one on its southern side. The European model had one kind of cutting in like this. That track of that low is what's really going to help in supporting our snowfall from there, because overall it looks like the low itself, the original low that looked like the big storm that I've been hyping up, honestly, and a lot of people have been hyping up, the original low is not going to be able to sustain itself up here for much past, say, early Wednesday. You can see right there it's dying. The pressure of it is originally, say, around 990 millibars. That's pretty low pressure around Tuesday morning. But by Wednesday morning, I mean, it's 1,005 millibar low. That is a big change as it really weakens down. The cold pool is coming in here, but if the cold pool has nothing to interact with, then that's not really going to do anything in terms of snow. No moisture, no snow. I mean, that's just going to be how it goes. And unfortunately, if you are a snow lover, that's kind of really sad to see, because, temperatures might be dipping down 20s, 30s, etc., heading out of Wednesday into Thursday in this cold pool here, but we've just got no moisture to actually bring the flakes down. I'm sure there will be a chance, I'm sure there will be a chance for snow later on in the season. We're just in November right now, but still it would be cool to see some early season snowfall, I'm sure, for many of you. And, the GFS model says, well, maybe we could get the snow to form somewhere here in the Midwest as a low centers itself around the Michigan area late next week. Again, that would be one of those lows that helps rejuvenate the old one. Notice how that happens. See it cutting in from the southeast. I think it's really going to be Wednesday and Thursday when this area right in here and not as far south as down here. But right in here, this area certainly needs to watch, because the cold pool's going to probably dip under whatever's going on of that, the leftovers of that weak low towards the Great Lakes, and whatever's coming in along this track right here to help support it could bring some snow if everything lines up at the right time. But there's just so many ifs, ands, and buts this time of the year, and you can't really trust any of these models really in a 3-day span, let alone a 7 to 10 day span. So again, that's kind of why I honestly probably shouldn't have been even talking about this storm in as much detail as I have been for the last few videos now. I mean, I started Sunday talking about this storm, and look at this. I mean, it's basically 2 weeks after when I first started the storm that it's really going to begin wrapping up, probably some point next weekend. And even now, that's still 200 plus hours out. So let's see what some of the questions are in my live chat right now. Again, if you are joining me after this stream, and after the stream is over and you're just re-watching, feel free to drop comments, questions, concerns, all that kind of thing, all that kind of stuff, down there in the comments section below. Let's see what we've got in here. Thank you to Avery Fuller, Misty, Severe Storm Filmer, Best VS, A340 Gaming, if I didn't mention you just now, Kelsey Hale. All of you, thank you so much for joining me here. Is Ohio ever going to get a winter storm again? Models don't agree. Severe Storm Filmer says, trust me, I think this is your winter, a La Nina winter, really to be looking at that. D. Davis, too, I see you down there in the comments section. Thank you. The live chat. It's been a little while since I've seen a comment from you on one of my videos. Glad to see you here in the live chat. And no need to be freaked out, Avery Fuller. I promise you this storm is not looking that bad up there in your usual area of Michigan that you tune into me from at all. Gusty wind, maybe some rain, and then maybe a change over to snow at some point. But again, we're just talking rain, snow, and gusty wind. No, like, severe weather specifically. Deborah Warner, thank you for tuning in. What's the forecast looking like in Miami for the Dolphins game this weekend? That is a great question. Let's take a look at the future radar for that right now. I don't know the exact timing on that game, so if you could just let me know what time that is specifically. I'm sure it's Sunday, but I don't know like what time on Sunday it's going to be. But Sunday looks like smooth sailing weather. I can tell you that overall down there towards Florida. Definitely clear skies, assuming that the game is actually in Florida. So just give me some clarification on that comment, and I will finish that off. But could Ohio see gusty... I'll get back to that in just a minute. But could Ohio see gusty rain showers ahead of that front, Severe Storm Filmer says? Yeah, certainly so. Again, let's take a look at what the GFS model is showing, because it's been doing a generally good job for the last few days at showing what's going to happen out of the storm. Notice it generally pushes to the northeast. I think some of these showers could be gusty Tuesday going into Wednesday. I mean, nothing crazy, but here's what the wind gusts are showing on the GFS model. Maybe 20 to 30 miles per hour in some of those bluish shades. But your best chance of gusty showers and anything of that nature is really going to come as we go to the very end of the week, because whatever goes on, whatever additional energy kind of moves up into that low as it weakens down around Wisconsin Wednesday going into Thursday, from there on, we could see several days of, especially coming off the lake, some gustier wind as just this general, spin goes on like this somewhere in that area. So I would be looking probably beyond Wednesday for a better chance of 20, 30, 40 mile per hour wind gusts. Nothing extreme, though. So 1 p.m. game on Sunday, yeah, the weather just looks pretty good down there. I mean, here's the wind gusts, too. Sunday afternoon, pretty much no wind in Florida either. So it's just going to be clear temperature-wise. Let's see what we're looking at. Sunday afternoon, 3, 4, 5 p.m. Yeah, we've got 70s turning, some spots getting closer to 80 to 85 at the higher end. Yeah, this doesn't look that bad for a Dolphins game in Florida. Good question there on the stream. Let's see what else we've got. No severe weather expected for Metro Detroit. My PTSD has been acting up lately. No. Trust me, I would not be worried about that Metro Detroit. It does not look like this storm is going to be a big problem up there. If this storm decides it wants to act up, in that kind of manner, I'll let you know. But, I mean, look, that doesn't look like a problem. That's barely any rain at all as the original storm weakens going towards Wednesday. And then the next storm, by that point, it's just working with cooler air. And if this storm forms, then that would be more of, we're looking for the areas that could get snow. We're not talking about severe weather. Severe Storm Filmer, would those wind gusts be associated with that possible snow band in my area? I mean, if you want to call it a snow band, you can, but I just I don't want to call anything a snow band this far out. Even though I've been hyping up the storm all along, I have not been like saying snow's going to be the biggest aspect of it by any stretch. I've been seeing thumbnails all over the place like this is going to be a big snowmaker. I mean, the European model, it has a storm coming up here to help the original one as we go to the mid to late part of next week. All the models really have this kind of thing, something helping to support the low and keep it spinning around the Great Lakes. But I mean, look, that doesn't bring any snow at all. That's just, even in the cold pool here, we've just got, probably, that's a terrible circle, right, I'm going to try one more time. Right in here, we're going to have probably some 30s and showers, in that kind of setup that the Euro is showing for late next week. So I wouldn't trust in any sort of snow, but again, when you get this kind of flow wrapping around the storm, I mean, this is a different model than the one I just showed the wind gusts for just a minute ago. Look at what this is showing in terms of wind gusts. At some point there in Ohio, the winds could kick up, 20 to 30 plus as well. Either model you look at least shows that, but it's probably going to be with rain if I had to guess right now. And, maybe it'll change to a snow potential with time. Hello to Weatherman of the North 154. Thank you so much for joining me in this live stream. Got off to a little bit of a rough start, I must say that, with a little bit of, you pull the pen up on my screen and all that kind of stuff. But finally back with live streams on the channel. I'm glad to be doing that for sure. So glad you're able to tune in. And yeah, the lows that I was just talking about, severe storm filmer, those would be the ones to tune into and watch. Man, it's that time of year. I just lose my voice quickly. Fall allergy season's the worst. But yeah, that's about the general discussion about this storm. Do we have any questions specifically to this system by anybody else who's live here? Because if not, I don't mind doing like a 30-minute stream like this is going to turn out to be if we don't, have too much interest or too many viewers going on. Thank you so much again, the Weatherman of the North, for tuning in. Kind of just went through an overview of the future radar with this storm. And there's just a lot of details going around. That's for sure. Can I go over the Oklahoma severe weather risk? Kelsey Hale says, yeah, I certainly can do that. Let's go ahead. We're still on that screen. Good. Actually, I do have some severe scale graphics that I made for this particular storm. Let me go on over here and let's do the transition to my custom graphics. And we're going to pull up this graphic now. And yeah, here we go. Let's take a look at the severe weather risks using my ONW severe scale. First of all, this is the severe scale for Sunday, November 17th. You can see the levels there on the left side of your screen. It goes from level 1 being few to level 2 being isolated, and then level 3 scattered, etc. Looking like maybe some isolated severe weather possible in far southwestern Oklahoma. This would probably mostly be into early Monday, honestly, so late Sunday night going into early Monday. And then here's what I've got on my severe scale for Monday itself. A lot of Oklahoma being in at least around a level 2. I would expect isolated gusty winds being the main threat, but maybe even a tornado or two in the kind of environment we're going to have with this storm, which is going to be very high upper level winds, but very low, instability, warmth, those kinds of ingredients, as this is more of a winter storm type of setup. And, the cool air will be coming in pretty quickly from the western side of Oklahoma, fast enough as we go out on Monday into Tuesday that a lot of spots will be, really cooling down. So overall, this isn't like a big severe weather event, but I would certainly be watching from a 2 to even get upgraded to a 3 in a few spots. Yes, please quit worrying about next week, Avery Fuller. I promise you it'll be all right up there towards Michigan. Weatherman of the North. Yeah, the custom graphics. Yep, always love to pull them up in the video. How do you think the upper level low will progress as the storm itself weakens? I will go ahead and take a look at that. So when you say the upper level low, just clarify for me. Would you like me to pull up the 500 millibar pattern? Would you like me to pull that model up? Because I can certainly do that. Just as a fellow weather geek, I know you're going to probably know what I'm talking about when I say that. I'm going to read the chat and see what we get here as a response to that. But I'm going to go ahead and start pulling that up because I assume that's the direction he wants me to look. But that was, overall, that original low, if that's the low you're discussing, that was kind of something I was talking about at the beginning of the stream with my discussion to a degree. Yeah, 500 millibar would be recommended. All right, perfect. Let's go ahead and pull that on up. Yeah, so overall, the original low pressure system is cutting out here out of the southwest United States, and it begins making its way on up here to the north. So you can see, I always talk about in my videos, like every single video, I swear, I'm talking about the mid-level pattern. The mid-level pattern, 15 to 20,000 feet on up into the atmosphere. I love to show it. I say that like every video. Where the blues come down, that's where you've got a trough in the jet stream. The jet stream is dipping down. Where you've got the reds in the jet stream, or the reds on the map, you've got the jet stream kind of going like this. So overall, if I were to pull up the jet stream, just by coincidence here, I bet it would look something like that. There it is, right? Pretty much just what I drew by looking at the upper level height pattern here, and I think that's why it's such a good thing to look at a graphic like this, and I'm glad Weatherman in the North brought this up. So overall, out ahead of the storm, we're still looking at the same pattern we have been seeing just for so long. Warmer than average conditions just really pushing on up all the way to the Great Lakes region, mild air, but finally we get a trough coming out of the west that's going to try and combat this as opposed to just run into it and die. We saw several storms a couple weekends ago heading into the previous week or so, where rain was just pushing on out into the plains as a result of severe weather. Or, what did I just say? Severe weather was pushing out into the plains as a result of some storms. But overall, those storms were not able to progress east into the ridge. Notice here goes that deep blue area pushing through the plains. This is our low, the original low. It's kind of at the surface and into the upper levels, as you can see here. And overall, as it makes its way north, it is going to literally just kind of sit and die right here. But it looks like we're going to still have more energy, especially if you go with the European model, sitting back here with that trough in the west. Again, it's this energy that comes out of Tuesday into Wednesday and Thursday. You can literally see, if you look real closely here in the central United States, focus on this area right here, and you're going to see a little piece of energy spinning down to connect with this new low moving into the picture. Something's going to have to support the old low, and if it doesn't, then we're basically going to see a complete dud and maybe even the cold blast too next week. But there you go, you see that area that I had circled pushing down and supporting that new piece of the low. This allows that full trough into the eastern U.S., and then we've got some other form of new upper low forming here around the Midwest late next week. And again, that is a result of our old low that was right here collapsing, sinking down, and then falling into some sort of new low that's going to cut around in a general path like this. And again, depending on where the cold blast is, depending on how much that new low is able to do in terms of moisture, that's where we could eventually see late next week snow break out somewhere around here. And, you know, maybe even down here if you look at a few of the models. Let's see. Severe Storm Filmer says, are you going to do a name reveal? Yeah, that'll come at some point. Avery Fuller, a tree almost fell on top of my friend's house during that EF1 in my area back then. What are we talking about here? There's probably a side discussion happening. Okay. Don't want to go through August 2023 again. Okay, so we're talking about a previous storm event. I think there's a different discussion going on. Weatherman of the North 154, that is why winds will be a lot stronger on the backside of the storm in comparison to the front. Yeah, exactly. The original system itself is literally dying out here before it can really get going. And then you got another low that's actually going to come in, and this is going to be the one where we're going to have like a full-on 360 flow going around with gustier winds going around it. Yeah, I wouldn't. The wind doesn't even look that bad right now, Kelsey Hale, in Oklahoma anyway, and the severe threat looks pretty low, so I definitely wouldn't be too worried. But you know, I'll keep that area in my sights. Let's see what else we got here. Just checking on any snow chances in Illinois anytime soon, one Twisted Kitty said, and then I see XZ, or ZXC, man, I can't read today, ZXC, also with a question in the chat. I see one Twisted Kitty's was first, though, so let me just look at that real quick. Again, you know, Illinois snowfall, overall, it's going to come down to whether or not the cold air coming from the northwest meets up with the low, which is going to be somewhere here around the Midwest or Great Lakes late next week, overall, unless things change anyway, that low is going to be a result of our old low falling down. We've got a new one cutting in, and they're going to meet somewhere around here, and we'll have, at least enough of one to get a flow going like this. Whether or not we have enough cool air and moisture actually meeting up at the same time, that's going to determine whether we get snow in a place like Illinois. So that's certainly going to be something that we fine-tune more detail-wise later on. Let's see. But Southern Ontario, yes, I can give you some details on that as well. Southern Ontario, I want to certainly give you those details about the snow. So yeah, let's go ahead and zoom in on that area. Well, you can see Southern Ontario right now on your map, honestly. So you should be, I guess, somewhere around in here, unless my map skills are wrong. But let me know if my map skills are wrong or if I'm looking at the correct area. But here we go, taking a look down the line. I mean, this model doesn't show anything, but you will have that potential for the cold pool to come over. And again, it's the same, setup as what I've been talking about here. It's just going to come down to how much additional low pressure is able to cut up into the stronger one near the Midwest. This model shows some snow being able to break out somewhere down there in southwestern parts of Ontario, but I wouldn't fully bet on it. Especially considering the fact that actually, if you look at this in the atmosphere, look at that, the 500 millibar height anomaly. This storm, believe it or not, the more impactful part of the cool side of this storm is going to be coming down here, and we could even see warmer air up above it as it kind of squeezes its way down into the pattern. So that's going to be an interesting thing to see. Yeah, you're welcome, One Twisted Kitty. Kelsey Hill, do we know timing for severe risk for Oklahoma? Yeah, I was just looking at that. I showed, after you originally asked the question, Sunday into Monday, possibly. Probably Sunday night going into Monday. I showed the custom severe scale graphics. But if we do not have any additional questions, my voice is already running out tonight, and that is going to be the end of this particular stream. Thank you, everybody who has tuned into this live stream. And I will catch the next update with you guys probably some point this weekend. Got kind of a busy weekend ahead, so I don't know exactly when it will be out. But somewhere Saturday or Sunday, I'll try to get a video out for you guys with an update on this storm. But until then, I will see you in the next video or stream.